day 1680 since Richard was brutally taken, tortured, murdered on Fort Bliss, killed on Fort Bliss in the line of duty. And today, 18 minutes, um, is Ash Wednesday. Ash Wednesday. From ashes we come, from dust we come, um, to dust we go. And d- from dust we come, to ashes we return. So it is absolutely amazing what is happening. We are getting so much feedback from El Paso, and we want to address that today. And it's all about Trump, 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 Trump. Um, so, of course, we're coming on a little late because we watched the speech, and you saw that there is a huge divide in Congress. I don't think there is so much of a divide in the people of the United States. President Trump, after all, won the election after being retaliated against like no other candidate has ever been retaliated against. And false stories, false narratives, um, just the media spreading that kind of rhetoric out there that is false. And because we're so close in this, in the politics right now, because of our son's case, we can tell you that they're absolutely false. Um, and for him to be attacked the way he's being attacked, and this is, we're trying to be as honest, as real as we can be. We have, I voted for Ron Paul, right? I voted for Ron Paul. Um, so we try to be as honest as possible. Of course, when President Trump uh, came down that escalator in 2015, we have always supported him. We did vote for him because of his economics, because of that he is a builder. The first thing I did after he came down that escalator, and all of these haters were trying to spread false information about him that I know is false now, but I wasn't sure then. I looked him up. My husband looked him up. We looked him up, and what we did was we downloaded his financials. Follow the money. Follow the money. And what we learned in his financials was astonishing. They are magnificent because we, living in Europe for so many years, over 20 years, we absolutely understand the politics are, and having a son-in-law that is South Korean, we absolutely know that the politics in order to build, the laws in order to build, the deals that have to be made in order to build is huge, and so diverse in every place that he built. You can't compare Scotland to Ireland. You can't compare Ireland and Scotland to South Korea. You cannot compare the places where he has literally built high rises, hotels, golf courses, and then built businesses surrounding that to supply them with beef. So, good steaks, supply, because if you have a hotel, you need to have a restaurant, you need to have good beef, right? And water, his own water company, his own gin company, um, and on and on. If you've never looked at his financials, I've posted it. I should post it again. Um, that was from 2015. I don't know what, he's been so attacked. I can't even imagine. And so today, I really want to talk about Trump, 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 because that's what's going on in El Paso. In El Paso right now, it is Trump, Trump, Trump. In Mexico right now, it's Trump, 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 because of the tariffs, because of his absolute establishing of the rule of law once again. Where the rule of law, where there absolutely exists a constitutional crisis, he is coming in and saying, not so fast, not so fast, Sinaloa cartel or any kind of Mexican cartel. But Sinaloa cartel is a big one because they are designated a terrible organization and they're absolutely in connection with our son's case. Um, but he's saying, not so fast, not so fast, cartels. We are going to change everything up, and reset it to what it originally was designed to do. And that is to be a transparent government that obeyed the rule of law. And we have, we have had to put on different glasses, so to speak, in order to look at every agency and institution, and the economy and businesses there in El Paso to understand our son's case. Absolutely. To understand the Walmart mass shooting case, which is understanding our case. Thank you, Anicia, for coming on. Thank you, Peg, for coming on. It's just huge. And our sources that, and we have a lot of them. The thing is I was born at White Sands Missile Range. That's where I was born. You know, my parents, when they brought in the Germans, in the 50s, when my parents were there, they belonged to the German American Club. My mother is German, right? Ich spreche auch Deutsch. I speak German. So my grandmother, Francois, um, lived next door to us at White Sands. And my Oma lives, she's passed away now, but she lived on the French border. So to have that French lady, Francois, live right next to us there on White Sands Missile Range, um, was just an amazing coincidence. Uh, because my grandmother, she was a maid and she worked for the French. Um, so of course she had some French. Um, and so we have connections there in El Paso area on Fort Bliss. Long history there. I went to grade school there. I went through 8th grade. I left after 8th grade. But I was part of the Sand Shark swim team under Colonel Johnson, CJ. CJ was my coach. CJ was my coach. Anyone that was in swimming absolutely knows what absolutely a magnificent opportunity that was to swim under CJ. He was the best swim coach ever in my estimation. He was the best swim coach. Um, and I think that maybe if you look at records, you could go back and look at even after we left, going back to visit. I was involved in an explosion on the border. Well, we were talking about that today. I was in a VW van that exploded. I wonder if that made the news. Um, right there at the border, they were, we were waiting to come back into El Paso, Texas, and we were sitting there in line, and our van blew up. It wasn't my van, it was my mom's friend's van, but it blew up, the people that were surrounding us had their extinguishers and were, putting it out. I don't know what grade I was. I was in high school. I was in high school at the time. Um, so we have a long history, a lot of friends, long history there in El Paso. So, the word that we're getting is that El Paso is shaking, not just from the reported earthquakes. Now, I don't know if the earthquakes are from tunnels. I don't know. I don't know if they're cleaning out the tunnels. We know that they reported on the tunnels. I know from my father, I know from living there, is a long history of so many tunnels because I've said this many times. And, only when I know I'm 100% right do I try to, when I know, and maybe I'm wrong sometimes, I don't know, but when I think I'm 100% right. But El Paso is absolutely an ancient city. It has a grid and it has tunnels. It has so many tunnels. And my dad told me, I'm going to believe my dad. My dad told me there's so many tunnels. And those tunnels are all over Fort Bliss and they're all over El Paso. And they go into Juarez, right? Paso del Norte was we even called El Paso del Norte when I was a kid, right? That's what they called it. But it is connected to Juarez, absolutely a Siamese twin sister. We are connected. And whatever happens in El Paso, and whatever happens in Juarez, we feel it. We absolutely feel it. And what Trump is doing because of the takeover of our institutions, and I can tell you right now in the United States, in El Paso, there is a constitutional crisis. There was and it's being addressed right now, right? The constitutional crisis is being addressed. Veronica Escobar is the constitutional crisis. She brought that in with many others, with Mario Raskin Ortiz, a medical examiner, with the fake masquerading individuals or masquerading as judges in the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court. You have the masquerading there in the federal court where they're like, oh, Patrick Crucius doesn't have any connection to El Paso. Yet, right there in the federal court, behind the curtains of Judge Guadarrama, is Michael Mayella, his courthouse manager, whose daughter is marrying Patrick Crucius's brother, right? The masquerading, the conflicts of interest, the DA's office, which I just put up again, um, and then I should put up Bill Hicks's open records that we have. I don't even know if I ever posted those, but I can. I can. They're public record, and people need to know that there was tampering involved with Bill Hicks, that he was a usurper. He was never a legitimate DA. Never. There's a reason why we have timestamps. There's a reason why we have a constitution, a Texas constitution, why we have to follow rules that make you legitimate, make you legal. And Bill Hicks was never legal. He would never hold up in a court of law. And any case that he dealt with as a district attorney of the 34th Judicial District is up for grabs. It is just, they're botched. They're botched. And, and this is with James Montoya. And James Montoya is a very interesting character because he was the assistant district attorney under Jaime Esparza when Jaime Esparza was a district attorney when the Walmart mass shooting happened, when the brutal um, taking of Richard, the torture, the murder of Richard during the retaliation of Richard. Matter of fact, his name is on the retaliation efforts of Richard. Um, Jaime Esparza was absolutely up to no good, right? And James Montoya was there beside him as the assistant district attorney. And he joined the district attorney's office again in November of 2024. And when you join the district attorney's office, even as the assistant district attorney, then you have to sign a statement of officer and an oath of office then and turn it into the county clerk's office. We feel that because he was so sloppy and did not install properly, and they have a real problem. There's many of them. This is a seems like a very common thing to sign the statement of officer, the anti-bribe line. They have a real problem doing that right before their oath of office. And I wonder why they have a real problem doing that. It shouldn't be a problem, but it is a huge problem. And he failed to do that. Uh, then on January 1st, he has no problem getting Judge Guadarrama, which is a federal judge, lending the prestige, the politics, bringing the federal court into politics, which is a no no. Okay? Judge Guadarrama should never have done that. But knowing about Michael Mayella, knowing about Michael Mayella's daughter marrying Patrick Crucius's brother, knowing that El Paso Matters knew about it and made a quid pro quo to cover it up, right? To cover up the name, to not mention who married, uh, Patrick Crucius's brother, um, and have that be right in the courthouse. And the backroom deals that were going on between Jaime Esparza and Joe Spencer, and collecting millions and millions of dollars of taxpayers' money to purposely, intentionally just stall the Walmart mass shooting case. Because when you dive deep into it, it's a mess. It's a mess. Now, it looks like Ray Baca removed his open letter article, and I think it was El Paso Times. It seems like it. He removed it. Why did he remove it? Right? Because absolutely the taxpayers have had enough of this, and they absolutely need to stop the case. They need to stop the case. So, what's happening behind the scenes, right? What kind of investigations are going on behind the scenes? Why haven't they arrested Leilani Hart? Because the FBI absolutely has everything they need to arrest her ASAP, but they haven't. Maybe it's because, we've been really thinking about this. Maybe Agent Agent Morales has a bigger investigation going on, right? That includes more people. I don't know. I don't know. We constantly, even just I think it was yesterday, demanded that he arrest her. We absolutely are demanding that they do their job. We're reaching out to everybody to um, to file all of our investigative documentation from that absolutely are absolutely criminal. And so, so what's happening in El Paso? A huge shakeup right now. I think, well, what we're hearing in the courthouse, because we shared many letters the last couple of days. One of them was to the media, to the courthouse, all the judges in the courthouse. They have James Montoya's failed installation. They have his obvious, obvious um, tampered with um, installation. And the that tells a story. It tells a story that they tried to cover up his failed installation as a district attorney, as the prosecutor for El Paso. Um, El Paso needs to have a prosecutor, right? They need it, and they haven't had it since Yvonne Rosales resigned, and Yvonne Rosales was so brutally attacked. I'm telling you, the psyop they did on her and everything. She is the rightful DA right now. And so they must have done a really big job on her for her not to put on her heels, put on her suit, and assert her power as the district attorney and save her name. Think about what that would do for her name in posterity. Um, it would just her name would go down in history totally different than what it is now, right? She could be that Joan of Arc, she could be this comeback queen, and absolutely make a difference for El Paso. And but that's not what's happening. And I can tell you this from personal experience for months and months. And if you have any little, like talk about Lent coming up, people were asking me, what are you going to give up for Lent? And I'm like, man, we've given up so much in order to stay healthy, in order, and I wish, I could be even more healthier. But this, we've just given up so much. Um, and whatever God requires from us, whatever God requires, that's that's what we'll give up. Because if you get into substance abuse during this, you'll just never make it, right? You'll never make it if you don't have a really firm, solid family backing. Because the best of families will get shaken from this. And if you can't get through that shaking, absolutely, our family's been shaking. It got shook up real good, and we had a firm foundation, and we made it through it, and now we're even stronger, right? We're even stronger. It's amazing. So marriages can be shaken up through all of this. They want to just break you, it's amazing what Trump has done. And this is why I really want to talk about Trump and not us, because he had so much to lose, right? And they really wanted to do a smear campaign on him, and he came back, but he is a seasoned politician now, and what he is doing with the tariffs. Think about this. His goal, when you read his statements, his goal is to get rid of the IRS. Okay. To get rid of the IRS is to get rid of the Federal Reserve Bank. Okay. Uh, which would be bring so much prosperity because they control us. They control, just to let you know, when they conquered Iraq, the very first thing they did was uh, establish a Federal Reserve Bank there. The same thing with Libya. Libya didn't have a Federal Reserve Bank. The first thing they did was uh, establish a reserve bank because they can get hold of the money system in that country. And once they get a hold of the money system, once they control the money system, um, and a money system that does not need to be backed by anything, right? Just fiat money. And this is why we love Ron Paul so much, because he really taught us a lot about this. then they can control the people. Because if they can control uh, uh, the money, they can control the economy, and controlling the economy equals the actions of the people. It's like liturgy, right? It's like liturgy. Liturgy, that's why I love liturgy so much, because it's the actions of the people. And that's what economy is. And if you can control the economy, you control the people. And what the cartels have done is infiltrate into the system so that they can control the economy. And it became a stumbling block for many, many people because it was making money illegally. And it was a lot of money. And it was, but the culture that it was bringing with it, the harm that it was bringing with it, um, was absolutely suicidal. And then you have so many deaths, you have so much crime, you have no justice, you have no free speech then. And you see this in Richard's case. The free speech has been very, very limited because there's a lot of blackmail. There's um, financial interest at stake when you've been making money financially through illegal means and not paying taxes on it. If you've been participating in the sex cult, if you've been participating in the substance abuse, if you've been participating in the smuggling of weapons and ammunition and everything like that, then your free speech is taken away because you can be easily bribed. And of course, then that lessens the culture, and then it calls for orders to murder a soldier. And this is how Richard was, taken and tortured and murdered, and then the cover up. And then you have a lot of people, and we have evidence to that, that they were on even more substance abuse because of this evil deed. And you lose your livelihood, you lose your badge, you have to clean off everything on social media. You can't. You have to live in fear, right? You have to live in fear. You cannot live freely, right? You see that with Michael G. Miela. He's the latest. He's the latest one that he cleaned everything off, right? Remember when Jules took it on Chan? He just cleaned everything because they were participating in a uh, up to no good, up to no good, and they have something that they have to hide. They don't want they don't want everyone to know, hey, I was working for Walmart security, right? I was working at the FBI. I'm wearing a jacket with a badge on right now, right? So this is I'm at the DA's office, right? This is who I'm connected to. Um, so absolutely, um, it is a terrible way to live. And now with Trump, President Trump, President Trump, President Trump in office, and with the tariffs, the reciprocal tariffs are absolutely driving people crazy because they were able to charge America much more than what America was charging them to do trade. And now with the reciprocal trade, uh, how are you going to do a trade war with reciprocal trade? President Trump signing the reciprocal tariffs, it was brilliant before he raised and the tariffs, right? When he put forth the tariffs, really, he raised the tariffs. That's what he did. Reciprocal, and now they're just like, what? And if they raise it high, because we have the reciprocal um, um, order, then we have to raise ours higher too. And, are they going to do that? Can their economy hold up? Are we going to feel some pain? Um, Look, I think the last administration has put us into some pain, right? And now we have trillions of dollars being brought in by make it in the USA, right? Made in the USA. Made in the USA. Doesn't that sound sweet? Um, it's going to be interesting. We know that we could not stay the way we were. We would lose it all because we were being absolutely invaded. And I think that the uh, illegal aliens, the migrants, whatever you want to call them, were a diversion of the real takeover. And the real takeover was by cartel people in suits, right? People in suits that are not loyal to the United States, that are loyal to the cartel and to other foreign countries that were taking over. And and they've done that almost totally to Mexico. Okay. And so this is um, our conversations with people in Mexico and in Texas, in El Paso, and politically minded uh, or active individuals. They are just really talking about what's happening in Mexico. That even the uh, governor of Chihuahua couldn't even stand. She's so shaken. She's so shaken. She can't even stand. And she's blaming Trump, right? She's blaming Trump because uh, what's happening economically is shaking everything up there. Because remember, when the Sinaloa cartel, which is huge, were designated a terrible organization, any type of business that you do with them, it can get you in prison, right? For aiding and abetting, or, what that's done is shaken up the business with the cartels, and that Sinaloa cartel has been growing for 40 years. And so people have been regularly doing business with them. It's become a regular part of the economy. And now um, uh, President Trump is saying, not anymore. Not anymore. We need the rule of law. We need a righteous economy, right? Not an illegal economy, not one based on sex cult, criminal trafficking that includes kid trafficking, gun trafficking, drug trafficking, weapons trafficking. No, we're going to do the rule of law. We need to have legitimate um, small businesses, and he's putting forth, of course, like he did in his first term that we thought was amazing, was these opportunity zones. Well, he's making the entire United States an opportunity zone right now. And so that's why you see, I believe it was Honda, I think it was Nissan, that they are going to build vehicles in the United States. That if you have an American made vehicle, you can write off the interest from your loan as a tax deduction, like you would do a house. It's all about Make in America. We need to make our own TVs. All TVs are like in South Korea, right? They're all made in South Korea. Why? Why can't we make our own TVs? They're not that hard to make. Um, so, it is a real shakeup. And what does this mean for Richard's case? At the power structure. is totally changing. And it was the power structure that was the firewall, keeping us from getting full justice. We've had to, it's just been totally God, right? We have had to just keep going, keep going, keep going. And we have gotten the declaration of death. We have gotten the declaration that Richard was killed in the line of duty on Fort Bliss. We've got uh, all of that. So we don't have his remains yet. We don't have the accountability, the admission of who murdered him. And that's so big, right? There's, the people that covered it up and everything. So, but with this restructuring of everything and the loss of power by the Sinaloa cartel, who are not what you always think. They're not always um, Mexican, right? They're not always Mexican. They're not, these are people that are business people. These are people wearing suits. These are people that are narco politicians. They are making big, big, big money, right? So they can look very pretty. Um, and um, they use and abuse um, people in Juarez. You see that. They just break them. It's just terrible. And so, what is happening now is not, oh, the success of El Paso, the success of our case, the success of El Paso. They're going to sell. Doge is going to sell 4 buildings. They're looking to sell 4 federal buildings in El Paso, buildings that have been sitting empty. Um, Buildings don't do well when they're sitting empty. And that's so bad for the downtown area, right? You want a vibrant downtown area. You want to sell those federal buildings. You want innovation. You want the small businesses. You want larger businesses coming in. You want a vibrant, real economy. And so it is just amazing that he is willing to sell off these federal buildings. It's just amazing. It's just going to be so good for the downtown area. The beautiful, da- you know, the potential for El Paso downtown area is going to be amazing. And to get the culture that the criminal trafficking has brought, the sex culture, the sex cult culture, the substance abuse culture, um, the hundreds of thousands of children, and the smuggling, the theft, just the culture that it's okay to steal, right? To be thieves, right? To be organized crime, thievery, um, and a national security at that, because it's huge in our military. Like, our military was sending weapons over to Ukraine and then shipping them back 50% into the cartels there in Mexico. Um, for money. Okay, they're not just handing here cartels, here's some, we're smuggling over there to you, and giving you these weapons and this equipment and this ammunition. No, that's not what they're doing. They are making Americans pay for these weapons, then making them pay double when they go over to Ukraine, and then smuggle back and make the Mexican cartels pay for them, right? So it's kind of like this whole banking system when they sell off loans and they multiply these loans up. Uh, they're doing that with with our military equipment and arms and that. So, um, and Richard, was reporting on that, right? Richard was reporting on that, and that's very lucrative money. And it's this culture of criminality, the culture of trafficking, uh, that was the cause. And we need to hold the people accountable. I'm not giving them any way room to wiggle out of this. But they absolutely were given a culture to do it and impunity to do it. Right? They were allowed to do it, and they were covered up. Right? You know, I mean, Leilani Hart was bragging that she was running the CID office, right? So they were allowed to do it. And I saw it with my own eyes with Marlon Soto covering up for them, covering up for them. And I'm like, what is he doing covering up for them? I saw it with my own eye. It made him look so beta. It made him look so, like, was he um, in, in the what do you call that? Someone said it at the anyway. Who had bought him, right? That's the point. Who had bought him because he looked so weak. So looking at what was going on there in El Paso, and having instead of a kinetic war, right? Which still might happen. They have the striker units there, and it is brutal in Mexico. Um, Instead of having the kinetic war, this is trying to, and I think very successfully, um, stop this all happening. Economic chess playing. That's what's happening right now. It's economic chess, and it is a war with economic chess. And the Democrats are definitely on the side of and I'm not talking about all of them. I'm just talking about the ones in Congress that put their thumbs down to stopping men from competing in women's sports. Uh, Come on. What? I mean, that's crazy. So, yeah, and that's because I have sons and daughters, and even though our sons were younger, I would always tell them, no way can you, um, wrestle like that with your sister. Um, uh, no way can you fight with them. I had a hard time when they were doing like their katas and all that. I said, because let me tell you, in a couple years, you're going to be so much stronger, and you can really hurt them. You can really hurt them. And you know what happened? They became very strong. They're so strong, right? And of course, my daughters are our daughters are mothers now, so um, but they know how to protect themselves. And I wanted them to protect themselves, and I wanted them to be strong mothers. Um, but men competing in women's sports, absolutely no way, no way. We're made different, we're not any less um, uh, valuable, you know. We're just very different. We're different, and it's okay to be different, right? It's okay to be different from men, and it's okay for men to be different from women, and we are different. That's it. That's the bottom line. And for our own Congress that represents so many females, not to acknowledge that they could absolutely get so hurt um, by men competing in women's sports and not wanting to. I mean, and just they would get beaten so bad. It's just proven, right? But all these movies always putting, I don't know, it's like brainwashing or whatever. But we need to face reality, and for them not to vote with their thumb down, it's like they don't even want to face reality. So it's like, wow, I'm done with them. But of course, um, the bigger uh, s- we have a bigger cake, a big thing in front of us. It's so big. It's so big. It makes it makes so many other crimes look, you know. I mean, when you think about all the things that's going on in Richard's case, so we will work with everybody, right? We will work with everybody. But I tell you, um, I think Trump is who is giving us the major help, the designation, the action in Mexico, the um, economic action in Mexico. That is just, it's making the governor shaky on her legs, and the action there in the El Paso area. It's shaking the ground, literally shaking the ground. Um, and people don't know what to do because if they do business with the cartel like they used to do, that's aiding and abetting a terrible organization, right? They can get in real trouble for that. So, and I think that there's a lot of investigations going on. Matter of fact, I know there are. There are many active and ongoing investigations. And I just want to say thank you to everybody. Please share, and thank you so much because you're living during a remarkable time if you live in El Paso. You're living in a very amazing, remarkable time, and you should really keep a journal because, you, very few people get to live through a time like this where there's going to be actual real change and 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 a golden age being brought in. I really believe that when you're talking about manufacturing and you see hard evidence of manufacturing and you're getting rid of the debt overload, like these buildings, you might really like these buildings, but if they're not being used, let someone else buy them and use them and create a vibrant economy. So, your family should have been honored guest tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you. Wow. That's really, really a sweet thought. Um, yeah, we just want the best for El Paso. We want the best for our country. And we want our system to be honored because it is an amazing system. It's really helped us get this far. In Germany, there's no way if we lived in Germany or Ireland like we would never have a voice like we do here, a real voice. And we want Trump to be uh, respected for what he has gone through and is doing. And I think the media needs to be held accountable for their propagation of attacks that using false witnesses and false stories because we absolutely know they're false. And we'll just keep trying to put out that information, the evidence that we have. Um, we're not, you know, I think that there are people out there that absolutely uh, will take a hold of what we did, what we've accomplished, because we've accomplished so much, and build upon it. That's what we hope. Yeah. And we want our son's remains. And we want these people to be held accountable for what they did, really accountable. Uh, Tavita Nusa and Dallas Hart and Leilani Hart and Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, the generals, y'all. We really want them to be held accountable. And so we know that it's very, very delicate, and it's very hard to understand for people unless they're from El Paso. El Pasoans really understand us because they understand what's happened in the Walmart mass shooting case. But the rest of the United States, I don't know if they understand. And so it's okay. It's okay. They need to live. They need to. So we will keep going forward. Keep putting our story out there, and please share. Help us with that. Share. And thank you so much for saying something nice. I'm so moved. It really stopped this whole podcast. Really, my brain is so moved by that. Thank you so much. Um, and we will be back tomorrow. But hold fast, be steadfast. It might be a little bit of a shaky ride, but I think that uh, good things from what we're hearing, from what we're seeing, from what we know that is happening, um, I think we're on the right path. So thank you so much. God is good. We just need to be patient. Yes. That day will get here, but it is His timing, and then it will be perfect. You will get His remains, and the guilty will pay. Absolutely. We believe that. So thank you so much. God bless you. And remember, it's Ash Wednesday. Um, we came from dust. We'll go back to dust. Um, that's a very humbling thought. Very humbling.